Some people run marathons. Some climb mountains. Me? I'm gonna attempt something far more dangerous. For the next 5 days, I'm gonna watch every single Sleepaway Camp movie ever made. That means 5 films, 5 doses of summer camp horror, bizarre twists, and the kind of acting that deserves its own warning label. Now, I will add that Sleepaway Camp 1 and 2 are 2 of my favorite horror movies of all time. 3? It's okay, but I've never seen the other 2. Will I survive this cinematic gauntlet, or will I simply go mad after watching Return to Sleepaway Camp? Now, let's roll the film.
Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the summer sun.
Sleepaway Camp, directed by Robert Hiltzik, starring Felissa Rose. I met Felissa Rose a couple years ago at a horror convention, and she was by far the sweetest person I have ever met. So if you ever get a chance of meeting her, definitely take that opportunity, because Felissa Rose is absolutely awesome. I don't know if she'll ever see this video, but in case she does, spam the comments with "We love Felissa Rose." The guy who had something to do with the score is fucking amazing. So at another camp across from Camp Arawak, on a boat, this man with the hairiest fucking chest hair is just tanning. He's tanning his fucking chest hair with his 2 kids. And the 2 little kids are Peter and Angela. And would you guess it? Yes, they are little schemers.
2 little schemers.
And they're just playing in the water when this dude Lenny is like, "Hey, it's time to go." And then we go to this dude and his girlfriend in a motorboat, and they're just screaming shit at each other. I have no fucking clue what they are saying.
You look like a steam hunchback. Straighten up, will ya?
Yeah, I have no idea what she said either. Doesn't matter, because behind them is another teenager water skiing. And the girl that's water skiing does not want to fucking be doing this at all. But she sees that they're gonna run right into Peter, Angela, John, and his tan chest hair. Before the 2 teenagers in the boat realize what's gonna happen, they already killed Dad and one of the kids. We cut to 8 years later, and we get my favorite character in the entire franchise, the crazy, colorful aunt. So Aunt Martha is ready to send the 2 kids, her son Ricky and her niece Angela, to Sleepaway Camp. That's the title of this movie. And it turns out that Angela is the surviving victim from the boat accident from 8 years earlier. So Aunt Martha, she's like super weird, and I think she's an alien.
We wouldn't want them to leave without us, now would we? No? No, I'm afraid that wouldn't do.
But Aunt Martha pulls them back in and gives them both their physicals for camp.
Just be careful not to tell anyone how you got them. Oh, no, I'm afraid that they wouldn't approve of that at all. Even though they know that I am a doctor.
So anyway, we cut to the camp where these kids are just fucking jacked up on like Jolt Cola, because they're just running from these school buses. And these like insane children are being yelled at by Ronnie. This dude is like really fucking jacked. And I swear he wears the shortest shorts I've ever seen. If you look close enough, you could probably see one of his balls. And next to him is the camp owner Mel, who looks like he produces porn. I know this movie is pretty weird, and there's a weird scene coming up later on, but to me, this is the weirdest scene in the entire movie. One of the chefs, played by a real adult man, is saying this line to real minor children.
Look at all that young, fresh chicken. Where I come from, we call them baldies.
What the fuck? Ricky introduces his best friend Paul to his cousin Angela. And Ricky's like, yeah, this is her first time away from home since the boating accident. And then Paul's just like, yeah, that's cool. And then he walks away and he's like, oh yeah, that girl Julie, she's got big old titties. Ricky sees Julie and he's trying to spit some game. Anyway, Ricky loves camp. Meanwhile, Angela is kind of having a hard time. She sits in her cabin staring blankly at people while 3 days go by. Angela has not said a word. So Musclebone Ronnie, with his massive bulge and his tight little shorts, grabs Angela and he takes her into the kitchen. At this point, I don't know if Ronnie is like a legit clueless good guy where he's like, hey, I just want to get you something to eat. Or he's just like, hey, I'm going to lure you to the camp pedophile. But anyway, she's left alone with the camp pedophile. And this guy is the most disgusting guy you'll ever see. He takes her to the back room, he's unbuckling his belt buckle, and he's ready to... When in comes Ricky to save Angela.
Hey, what are you doing?
Keep your mouth shut, hear me? They didn't say nothing!
So this chef is now committing sexual assault, harassing little children, and punching boxes. But the worst thing is that inside the kitchen, there's just tons of flies everywhere. They have those like fly trap thingies, and they're just covered with flies, and it's fucking disgusting. Even more disgusting than the dad's nasty tan chest hair. The camp pedophile is cooking corn in the most comically large boiling pot I've ever seen. He's standing on the chair and we get a first person perspective of the killer grabbing the chair, pulling it, sending the pedophile into the boiling pot of corn. So he doesn't die, but he gets carried away to a local medical facility. So the camp owner, Mel, he pays off the kitchen staff to say like, hey, don't say shit to anybody. I don't want the parents to know this. It'll make me look bad. On second thought, he's kind of like the mayor from Jaws. And then we get a bunch of just random tomfoolery at the camp. So they do the gimmick where they put a towel over the guy's face and then they pull it away and then his face goes into a real bare ass. But my favorite part about this scene is the slap of the kid's face into the ass. And then in comes this like super Italian guy with very 80s attire. He's got a crop top shirt, cut off shorts. His balls will probably pop out in this movie as well. If this is your first time watching this movie, if you pay attention close enough, you will eventually see a pair of balls. And then we get one of the highlights of this movie. A very extended baseball scene that leads nowhere, adds nothing to the movie. It's just watching these kids play baseball. But the reason why I love this baseball scene so much is because we get some of the best lines in this entire movie.
This guy blows dead dogs. Just lay it in there.
Eat shit and die, Ricky!
Eat shit and live, Bill.
You know how often I say eat shit and live? So anyway, we cut to a dance at the rec hall where Angela is sitting by herself minding her own business when these two Beavis and Butthead mulleted fucks come in just to tease Angela. This is another one of my favorite lines.
Yo, Angela, how come you're so fucked up?
Yo, Angela, why you so fucked up? And then in comes Paul and Ricky cosplaying as a fucking cowboy. So Ricky comes in to save Angela away from Beavis and Butthead. And then we get our first of many boy piles. Ricky's pulled off and he says some of the best lines.
Folks, I'm gonna beat your fucking asses in!
And then one of the Beavis and Butthead dudes gives one of the best middle fingers I have ever seen. I just love this dude's face as he does it. He's just like... So Paul sits down next to Angela and he's just like, hey, I'm a really nice guy and I'm sorry what happened to your family. Judy is watching this exchange from across the hall and she's getting fucking pissed. Like, you can tell that Judy is kind of a bitch. But anyway, Paul says goodnight and then he eventually gets Angela to talk.
Good night.
Good night.
So we got to a bunch of the counselors at the lake. So Billy, the guy who was told to eat shit and live, he's shirtless by the way. He's trying to convince the girls to go skinny dipping with him and all the boys. So the girls just say no and then they fuck off and leave. So then Billy and his boys just run butt-ass naked into the lake. There is a lot of carrots in that stew. One of the Beavis and Butthead guys with the mullet, he's on a canoe with a girl in the middle of the lake. And then he just starts like doing that thing where he rocks it. The girl gets pissed and she just swims away. And then Kenny just like swims underneath the boat and he's just like fucking around.
Hey, you!
By the way, where is this light coming from? A head pops up in the canoe, grabs Kenny's head, and dunks him into the water. Cut to the next morning, the counselor is just throwing a fucking bitch fit because garbage is just everywhere.
These peckerheads suck!
He notices a canoe is like overturned. He walks over to investigate, flips it over, and then, do you want to guess what he finds? It's the dead body of Kenny. Oh my god! They killed Kenny! You bastard! So Mel is really trying to convince this cop with this mustache. Remember this cop with the mustache? He will come back later. He tries to convince him that what happened to Kenny was a complete accident. Ronnie is like, hey, I'm not sure about this, but it doesn't fucking matter because then we cut to Judy, who's wearing a shirt with her fucking name on it. Angela's just sitting, watching the volleyball game go on when Paul comes over to flirt with her some more. Judy and Meg get fucking pissed. They go over and they start shooting promos on Paul. And Meg is a camp counselor, but she's also kind of a bitch, and she just starts fucking with Angela. We cut to later that night where they're watching a movie in the rec hall, and then Paul and Angela are now holding hands. And when you're holding hands, you know what the next step is. You go in for a kiss. Angela is not feeling the kiss at all, so naturally, Paul just goes in for another one. No means fucking nothing to him. Paul goes back to his cabin, they throw pillows at him, and then we get another boy pile. The next day, Angela forgives Paul and they're hanging out, making up, and Meg comes by and she's pissed for no reason. Judy is also pissed that Paul likes Angela. So Judy just starts cutting promos on Angela.
She's a real carpenter's dream. Flat as a board and needs a screw.
I say that line all the time. So anyway, Angela leaves the cabin and she walks past, I shit you not, a group of boys having a water balloon fight on top of a roof. And then eat shit and live Billy stops what they're doing, and then they throw a water balloon at Angela. And I don't know why, but Felissa Rose's reaction to this is fucking hilarious to me. So Angela takes the water balloon, she bumps to the ground. Paul comes out to Angela's rescue. Ricky comes busting out and he says some of my favorite lines to the boys on the roof.
I'll kick your freaking ass all over this goddamn camp, you!
Gets Ricky into trouble. Just as much trouble as the boys having the water balloon fight on the fucking roof. So Billy goes back to his cabin and he says one of my favorite lines in this movie.
I gotta take a wicked dump first, so I'll see you guys down there, alright?
So Billy goes to the bathroom to take a wicked dump. Billy has no fucking clue that he's locked in that stall when a fucking beehive gets dropped on his head. So rather than just crawl under the stall door, Billy just shakes violently at the door and then he gets fucking stung to death. After all of these accidents have occurred, Mel is fucking pissed because most of the campers left, most of the counselors left. Ronnie lost his fucking sleeves. Mel is like, I know who's the one that's committing all of these accidents. It's Ricky.
I've known all along, I've seen the hate in his eyes, but I never did anything. Now I'll stop him for what he's done to me. I'll stop him.
So even though that there's a killer running around camp, Paul and Angela are still just running around kissing each other and tripping each other on the beach.
Wait till I get my hands on you.
Might regret that in a second, Paul. Paul gets Angela pinned to the ground and he starts getting his hands on Angela. While Paul is feeling her up, Angela goes into a flashback as Angela and Peter are giggling watching their dad and that dude Lenny in bed just rubbing each other. But then it cuts to another really fucking bizarre scene where Angela and Peter are in bed together just pointing at each other. Angela yells no, pushes Paul off of her, and she just fucks off and leaves. We cut to the next day where all the campers are playing fucking grab ass or whatever. Paul keeps like really trying to get handsy with Angela. Meanwhile, fucking bitch ass Judy, she comes in and snakes Paul away. They go into the middle of the woods, they start making out, and they get caught by Angela. Angela sees them, she gets pissed and fucks off and leaves. Angela, who's getting bullied by Judy and Meg again, Meg picks up Angela and just fucking hoists her into the lake. Ricky tries to stop what's going on, but Mel grabs Ricky and starts accusing him of killing all the other counselors, and he's just shaking the fuck out of Ricky.
I saw you those times in the rec room at the water fight. You killed him.
Angela goes into the lake. She's saved by a lifeguard and Ricky. Meanwhile, Meg and Judy just laugh at her. And then these little kids just throw sand at her. Oh, you remember when I said the scenes get pretty weird? Well, Mel, a grown-ass old man with old wrinkly balls, makes a date with probably an underage Meg. There's a long line at the girls' cabin, so Meg just goes to an abandoned cabin to get a shower. Through the aluminum wall, Meg gets stabbed in the back with a knife. So now we cut to the social at the rec room. Paul is begging and pleading for Angela to forgive him. Angela took some convincing, but she forgives him.
Meet me at the waterfront after the social.
So after Angela says that, Paul is like, okay, I earned some brownie points. Mel shows up at the social looking for his fucking underage date. Mel eventually makes his way to that empty cabin where Meg's body just falls out at him. And then fucking Mel puts on a tour de force of acting.
Oh my God. Not you, Meg. He did this. Get back.
I just love his reaction. Not you, man.
Not you, Meg.
Dude, I fucking love this movie. We cut to Judy, who's curling her head in bed. The door opens up, and then a silhouetted figure is right in front of her. But I watched this on HD, and you can clearly see it's Ricky. But anyway, it's supposed to be an unknown killer still. But the unknown killer just punches Judy in the face, shoves a pillow over her face, and with the curling iron, she sticks it in her... Yeah. That fucking happened. Oh, there's another counselor who took a group of like little kids out camping in the middle of the woods. Kids complain about how cold it is, so the counselor's like, okay, let me take one of you back to the cabin. So the counselor leaves the 4 kids in the middle of the woods by themselves. Oh, and he has no fucking clue that a killer is running around camp killing people. So the counselor eventually comes back and he sees all of the kids just murdered. So then Mel grabs Ricky. So Mel is convinced that Ricky killed Meg. So Mel beats the fuck out of Ricky.
Just like I promised, Meg. I got him.
Mel is like, hey, I gotta fuck off and leave. Mel sees the killer and he gets shot in the fucking neck with a bow and arrow, and it's fucking amazing. Ronnie finds out that the little kids got killed, so he calls the cops. The cops show up, and you remember that cop with the mustache that I told you about earlier? Well, he returns, but with a fake mustache. We cut to Paul, who's waiting at the waterfront after the social for Angela, and she suggests to Paul that they go skinny dipping. And Paul is fucking more than happy to do it. The cop with the fake mustache finds Ricky in a bloody fucking beaten mess. Ronnie and another random counselor, they hear some humming at the waterfront. The only thing they see is Angela sitting butt-ass naked in front of them, cradling Paul's head. And this is where we get the big reveal. We get a flashback to Aunt Martha, excited to welcome the new member into her family. The new member of the family is the surviving child from the boating accident in the beginning of the movie. So Martha always wanted a daughter, but it turns out that the surviving child was not Angela. It was in fact Peter.
I know you're going to like that name. Won't you, Peter?
And then everything falls into place and my mind is fucking blown. Paul has been decapitated by Angela. Angela has been the killer this entire time. Once again, in the boating accident, the father died and so did Angela. The surviving child of that boating accident is Peter. And Peter was raised as the new Angela Baker. I don't want to get too political in the whole debate of everything, but I will say you do see Angela's dong. We get this intense music, a freeze frame on Angela's face doing the holy shit, I love this fucking movie. Sleepaway Camp.
And with the grace of God, I'll camp until I die.
Now before we continue, let me give you an update on The Climb. If you're new and not sure what The Climb is, it's an agreement between AEW superstar Kip Sabian and myself, where if I can surpass him in YouTube subscribers, he will have dinner with me at my favorite restaurant, the Rainforest Cafe. Since launching The Climb back in December, we have doubled the amount of subscribers, but we're still pretty far from surpassing Kip. So if you're not subscribed, please do so. So together, you and I, we can beat Kip Sabian and he will have a nice dinner with me at the Rainforest Cafe. Hashtag Mark and Kip share safari fries. Now back to the video. Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, directed by Michael A. Simpson, starring Pamela Springsteen. So we start off with a bunch of campers from Camp Rolling Hills, and they're just telling ghost stories, and one of them kind of looks like Uncle Joey from Full House. And then we go to this girl who has the quintessential 80s hairstyle, and she tells us the ghost story of Camp Arrowhead.
One of the cooks got boiled in some water.
Mmm, tasty.
And out of the woods comes the counselor in charge of all of them, Angela. And Angela's mad, so she takes the girl with this quintessential 80s hairstyle, back to the camp. So now everybody who's left at the campfire all have a mullet, by the way. They all talk about what happened to that little girl that killed everybody at Camp Arroway.
He went into a psycho ward a couple years ago. And while he was there, the doctors gave him a sex change. And our parents' taxes paid for it.
Yeah, that happened. But we do get a wedgie. And then we find out that Angela Baker now goes as Angela Johnson, completely throwing everybody off. But the girl with the quintessential 80s hairstyle gets pissed at Angela and just starts cutting promos on her. Angela's like, you know what, I'm not fucking having this.
Slut.
I'm gonna murder you. Angela grabs a branch and just smacks her in the face. And Angela just starts cutting off her tongue. So it's a new day. Angela's back at the cabin. And all the councils here just have their titties out. And I do appreciate, instead of having actual children in the movie, they have like the standard 30-year-olds playing teenagers. I'm also pretty happy that we just get boobies. And we get to have teenagers talk about how much they like to get
Wasted!
Angela tells the whole cabin that the girl with the 80s haircut went home because she was a bad girl. And then Angela turns to the naked booby girl. She's like, you gotta put some fucking clothes on.
Nice girls don't have to show it off.
Now we're with Angela telling the camp owner that she sent the other girl home. So this owner is not creepy at all. In fact, he gives Angela Camp Counselor of the Week, brings her up on stage to sing the song. So before we get the big song, Angela calls up Molly, who's obviously going to be the final girl. And then she also calls up Allie, who is the naked booby girl. And then we get one of my favorite parts of the movie where they sing, I'm a Happy Camper.
Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the summer sun.
So Molly's love interest is the camp hunk, this guy. But they have like a genuine connection and they're always together. And he doesn't even care that Allie, the booby girl, shows her boobies. Uncle Joey then tries to hit on Angela and it doesn't work. Angela just fucks off and leaves. So then we see Angela creeping through the woods and she comes across the two girls who love to get wasted, getting wasted. And then they just start doing like their own like Weird Al parody of the I'm a Happy Camper theme song.
I'm a happy camper. I love to drink and fuck. And if you pay me money on my titties, you can suck.
So one of the chicks is making out with some random dude. Angela scares him off. And then she fucking burns this chick. If you've never seen Sleepaway Camp 2 and you're like, you know what? This movie has awesome gore. It has titties. But what this movie really needs is a good old-fashioned... Yep. It's not an 80s movie without a panty raid. Just a bunch of guys being dudes, having fun, stealing panties. Angela quickly breaks up the panty raid and kicks the boys out. So the girls are around a comical pile of panties. And they start making their plans to get back at the boys. And what they decide to do is they have... Check it out! A jockstrap raid. Who knew that was a thing? And then the hijinks just ensue.
I think we better get out of here.
Angela also comes in to break up the jockstrap raid, and then she gets boobies right in her face. Angela gets pissed, so she brings Allie into her car, pulls out a power drill, and kills the fuck out of her with the power drill. Cut to the next morning, Angela is just laying at a cabin. Molly comes up, and she starts to confide in her. So Molly's like, hey, I really like the hot cabin boy, but Booby Allie also likes him.
Sean's smart. He knows a good thing when he sees it.
And Angela's like super sweet and she has Molly's back. And then Angela just starts making fun of Allie.
Allie, she's more experienced. Which means that she probably has a disease or two.
And now we get our Beavis and Butthead characters of the movie. These two little rascal boys who spend the entire movie just being peeping toms. Which, come on, when a girl is constantly flashing her boobs, there's gonna be two Beavis and Butthead characters trying to get pictures of them. Angela catches them. She goes through all the Polaroids that they took, and one of the Polaroids is Angela almost nude. We don't get to see peen, by the way. And then we cut to these dudes who are painting hockey masks, who are just going off on Angela and how they're gonna get revenge on her. This guy's a mullet. They high-five and they make a plan to scare Angela. We cut to later that night. The dude with the mullet is now like a Timu Freddy Krueger. The other guy is Wish Jason Voorhees. Timu Freddy Krueger loses his glove. He sees the glove just sitting there. The glove comes to life and slits his throat. So Wish Jason Voorhees is roaming around the woods with a machete. And behind him is Angela dressed as Leatherface. Angela cuts the dude's leg, and then just starts driving the chainsaw into his face. Just to fast forward through it, there's a lot of scenes where characters are just hanging out bullshitting, and there's other scenes where characters are just having sex. But Allie finds a letter from Sean on the mirror telling her, meet me in the abandoned cabin. And instead of finding Sean, we find Angela just busting out of the cabin. Angela just starts cutting a promo on Allie like, you're promiscuous, you're having sex, blah, 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 blah. And Angela stabs her in the back, like, kind of a lot. And then Angela just kind of like Play-Doh pushes her into the outhouse. I shit you not. Angela eventually throws Allie into this big shithole and just starts poking her with a stick, and Allie is just comically covered in shit. And the sound effects are hilariously gross. Allie dies by drowning in shit. I fucking love this movie. This one nosy girl, she says, I called Mare and Phoebe's parents and they told me they're still at camp, which means they did not go home. So naturally, Angela's thinking, I need to kill this girl right now. So then we get some more comedic hijinks of Angela just walking around the room looking for the right killing weapon. She eventually lands on a guitar string. She sneaks behind the girl and chokes the fuck out of her. So this girl walks into the cabin, didn't do anything to deserve a death, but Angela just springs upon her and then she says,
I didn't do anything! You're gonna tell.
Yeah, so Angela just stabs the shit out of her. Molly and Sean kiss goodnight. Molly goes back to her completely empty cabin. And then Angela comes out in a nightie and she's like, yeah, we're the only ones left. And this dream sequence, I'm assuming, was only in the movie to pad the runtime because it runs for 2 minutes. 2 minutes of footage we had just saw within the past hour. But my favorite part is we get a slowed down version of the I'm a Happy Camper.
Oh, I'm a happy camper.
So the next day, Angela gets fired from the camp owner for sending all the campers home because you can't have a camp with no campers. Molly and Sean, they come up to her and they try to console her like, hey, it's okay, we're here for you. But Sean goes into the abandoned cabin and that's when he sees every single camper dead as fuck. And Allie still has pieces of shit on her face. So Sean just starts dry heaving. In comes Angela with a big branch and she starts beating the shit out of him. Molly comes in, she's freaking out. Angela is trying to stop her from screaming. We cut to Sean and Molly are now tied up. And then Angela starts talking about beans. Uncle Joey is calling out for them. They're like, oh, we can get saved by Uncle Joey. He can cut us out. Uncle Joey makes it into the cabin and Angela just throws battery acid in his face. Sean now comes to the conclusion that Angela Johnson is Angela Baker, the Camp Arawak killer. So now we get the reveal that Sean's dad was the cop from the previous one with the fake mustache that arrested Angela. Angela then picks up a machete and cuts off Sean's head. And part of me also kind of wish we would have got a scene where Angela cuts off the cop's fake mustache with a machete. Angela puts his head in a TV stand and leaves Molly by herself. And then Angela's carrying some random body back to the cabin. But luckily for Molly, she got herself free before Angela can return. Angela comes in the cabin. Molly beats the fuck out of her with a branch. And then Molly just takes off. Angela books it and chases after her. She pushes Molly over a rock and Molly is knocked out.
Poor Molly. It's any consolation. You almost made it.
So the sun sets, and then we get this other counselor who finds Beavis and Butthead impaled to the cabin. And then out of nowhere comes Angela, stabs this woman in the gut. Angela leaves camp and she gets a ride from some random cowgirl. So then Angela just springs up and just stabs the cowgirl. So Molly wakes up and just starts walking aimlessly in the woods. But unfortunately for Molly, she gets picked up by Angela, who's wearing the cowboy hat.
Got it, partner!
Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers.
Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the summer sun.
Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland. Directed by Michael A. Simpson, starring Pamela Springsteen. The movie starts off with a butt just a butt right there at a girl's cabin with just a big butt. And we also get boobies. And we get a close-up of the boobies with tattoos over the areolas. And then the girl with the boobies looks directly at the camera. So the boobie girl is wearing her finest Canadian tuxedo, and this girl is immediately chased down by a giant Mack semi-truck. The semi-truck chases her down an alley and just runs her over, and she's dead as fuck. And would you know it, the driver was not an insane sentient truck like in Maximum Overdrive. It's actually Angela, who now assumes that girl's identity, hops on a bus, and goes to camp. And cue the 80s hair metal. So then we get this reporter who's giving a big exposition dump of what's going on at Camp New Horizons. So Camp New Horizons, formerly Camp Rolling Hills. So the news reporter is interviewing the new camp owners, and she's talking to the guy, and the guy can't make it through his lines without laughing.
First group is from the higher class establishments, and the other is from lower class homes.
So the reporter's going through all the campers, and she starts with all the upper class campers who are just really happy to be there. Oh, and this girl is like kind of racist.
God, that Tony guy is so cute. He's Mexican.
So when the news reporter is interviewing the lower class campers, it reminded me of that East-West Tech sketch from Key and Peele.
Snowboy or Chicago.
Anita Bertram, Sawtell Gap, Kentucky.
Tony De Herrera, East LA.
Riff, Detroit.
But Angela introduces herself as Maria from New York. The news reporter is now reporting on the camp's history and talking about Angela's murders when the female camp owner just cuts her off. So this report has ended, and the news reporter then goes up to Angela, asks her where she can score some coke.
Yeah, there's a machine in the dining hall.
The news reporter just kind of hangs around long enough for Angela to grab cleaning fluid, make coke, and then she gives it to the news reporter. So then the news reporter just immediately snorts it and fucking dies. And nobody gives a shit. So then we cut to Angela getting teased by getting fireworks thrown at her. And then rightfully so, Angela's fucking pissed. So she takes off with the guy, and the camp owner just grabs her, and then this is his reaction.
Just a firecracker. Your city brat should be used to that.
What the fuck is this guy even doing? Like, he doesn't even fucking know. So they're in the rec hall having a meeting when this dude with the boombox just plays this annoying synth music. The head counselor introduces another counselor, which is this cop. Angela starts shaking, and then a fucking fight breaks out between two of the guys. The cop slow motion disarms Riff with the knife, and then we cut to boobies. More boobies. All the campers get separated in 3 separate groups, all in charge of 3 different counselors. So Tony gives the cop shit for being a cop, but Tony lightens up on the cop after the cop says, "Hey, I'm only doing this in memory of my dead son, Sean, who died a year before." So it turns out Sean's dad wasn't the cop with the fake mustache. Herman sends Angela and a bunch of the dudes to go fish, and then he hits on the camper Jan. So now we get another creeper in this movie.
Daddy won't make you go fishing if you don't want to, sweet pea.
But Jan is like really into it, and they just start making out in the tent. Oh, and her boobies are out. While fishing, Angela pulls out the Wish Jason Voorhees mask, and then Peter puts a fucking M80 in a fish and throws it at Angela. So Angela makes it back to the camp, and she finds Herman and Jan making out in the tent. Herman's the first one comes out, and she just starts beating the shit out of him with the branch. And then Jan exits with her boobies out. And my favorite part is both of them are just kind of lazily beaten to death with a branch. Yep. So then we cut to the guy who does graffiti and the guy who throws the M80s. They're back at the campsite. So Peter throws more fireworks at Angela, and the graffiti dude just yells, "Teenage Wasteland!" That's the name of this movie. So that night, Angela sticks a firework in Peter's nose, lights it, and blows his fucking head off. The graffiti guy, he turns around, and Angela just bashes his face with the branch. Angela drags him into the tent with Jan's naked booby dead body. And she just covers the tent with gasoline. And then she lights the tent on fire. But the best part is, she roasts marshmallows. We cut to the next morning where Angela goes to Lily's camp. And Angela's like, "Hey, Herman told me to swap positions with Arab. Yes, The character's name is Arab. Is she Arabic? No. So Angela escorts Arab back to the camp, and then she just kicks her into the tent. And then when Arab comes out, she gets decapitated. And Lily was like, hey, let's have a sharing and caring experience. And they just start talking about their favorite kinds of movies.
Ones with tits and blood.
So Cindy starts talking about life where she's from, and then she just drops the N-bomb. And to kill all of this animosity towards each other, Lily decides one of you guys is going to be tied up and blindfolded while your partner just drags you into the middle of the woods. You see where this is going to go. So Cindy starts fucking with Angela, and then when the roles reverse, attaches the pulley gimmick to the back of her pants and hoists her up. Kind of like in Salute Your Shorts, but Angela pulls her all the way up and then drops her, and then she just fucking dies. Lily sends Angela to go do her camp chores. Angela goes back to the cabin since she has flashbacks to the previous movie to what I can assume to pad the runtime.
Oh, I'm a happy camper.
Back at the campsite, Lily has another fucking camp exercise where she ties their legs together. Angela and Bobby are now tied together, and they have to go fishing. Bobby admits that he likes Angela, and then he just starts like trying to molest her. So throughout the harassment, they manage to catch some fish, and they make it back to the camp. Angela's trying to get help from Griff, but all Griff wants to do is just hang out in his tent, listen to his generic synth music. And then he pulls a gun on Angela. Then we cut to the cops group, and everybody's just getting along. And then the cop reveals what he would do to Angela Baker if he would ever run into her.
I'd kill her.
That's probably foreshadowing. Look, it's Joe Bob. It's Joe Bob. Look, you're gonna be in the movie. Say, hi, I'm in the movie. I'm Joe Bob. Tony and Marcia are hitting it off. Then they bond over, yeah, we have different lives, but we have a lot in common.
Tony, are you in a gang?
Yeah.
Really?
Where I come from, everybody is.
And I'm a little confused because I don't know if he's fucking with her or if he's serious. But whatever, they just start making out. Then we cut to Angela, who somehow convinced Lily to play the blindfold game, and Angela leads Lily out in the middle of the woods. And then Angela brings her to a trash pit, which she convinces herself to trust fall into. And then Angela just starts burying her. And the best part is she's burying her while singing the I'm a Happy Camper song.
Oh, I'm a happy camper.
And then, while Lily is buried up to her head in dirt, Angela starts the lawnmower and does a hot sinister over her. And that's my favorite kill in this entire movie. And then we cut to Bobby or Billy, whatever his fucking name is. He hits on Angela. Angela convinces him to get tied to a tree. And Bobby is getting super horned up.
This is like something in one of those dirty magazines, you know? Bondage camp.
He's thinking that, like, hey, I might get a little mouth action. Angela takes that rope, ties it to a car, drives off, and rips Bobby's arms off, and it's fucking awesome. So Riff is the only surviving camper in Lily's group, and he's listening to his generic synth music when Angela throws in a tape in his tent. So Riff puts the tape in his boombox, and I shit you not, we get Angela spitting the sickest rhymes.
Say your prayers and make amends, cause your life story is about to end.
So Riff gets freaked out. He tries to leave the tent, and he gets a stake through his hand, and then he gets another stake jammed right through his chest. So Lily's camp, all dead as fuck. The next morning, Angela goes to Officer Barney's group, and she has the same shtick where she's like, hey,
Herman wants me in this group. I'm supposed to switch. With Marcia.
So Barney doesn't believe her, so Barney wants to talk to Herman himself. Angela gets hurt, so they go to the cabins. Marcia walks around, and she finds Lily's decapitated body, and then Angela drops the whole Mia gimmick.
You remind me of this girl I used to know. Her name was Molly.
Molly gets the fuck out. Angela pulls out Riff's gun. Officer Barney finally figures out who Angela really is.
You look just like your son when you get mad.
Officer Barney is fucking pissed, and they have a stare down. And then now, we get the epic fight between Barney, who's fighting for the death of his son, and Angela, fighting for revenge. And Angela just immediately shoots him and he's dead, and it's very anticlimactic. Angela hops into a Jeep and chases down Marcia. Angela abducts Marcia, and then makes it back to the camp at night. So Angela gets the surviving campers by saying the most believable lie.
We're gonna play some kind of a trust game or something.
She gets them back to the cabin, ties them all up, and then shows them Barney's dead, shot up corpse. And then now, Angela makes them all play this sick and twisted game where they have to find Marsha. They find Marsha in a bed tied up, and then Sledgehammers comes down and kills the Greg and Anita. Tony, who's in the middle, is like, oh shit. And then Angela's like, you know what, you two kids, you guys are nice. Toodles. And then Angela just fucks off and leaves. So Marsha makes it out, chases after Angela, pulls her out of the Jeep, and then they just start rolling through the leaves, beating the shit out of each other. Marsha pulls out a knife and stabs the fuck out of Angela. So then Tony pulls Marsha off of her. He's like, bro, she is dead. So the cops and the paramedics show up. The paramedics have Angela in the back of the EMT, and they're like, hey, she's still alive. And then they have the task of like, hey, we can kill off this murderer right now. And then that's when Angela springs to life, stabbing the one dude with just a handful of syringes. And then she pulls away and then stabs the cop in the eye. And then Angela lies back down and says,
just taking care of business.
Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland.
And with the grace of God, I'll camp until I die.
Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor. Directed by Jim Markovic. Starring Carrie Chambers. Now before I start off, I will say that this movie suffers from the archival footage bullshit, but they did make a weird wraparound for it, so let's get into it. So it starts off with this girl, Allison, sitting out on a deck in the middle of the lake, and she has like these weird dreams and nightmares.
I remember a day like today, when Angela stalked these grounds.
But they're nightmares of what happened in the previous movie. And then right away, with the title, The Survivor, you're like, okay, who is she in the other movies? Oh, she's Angela. It may or may not happen. But anyway, her name is Allison. Allison is told by her doctors you need to go to that camp to rid yourself of these nightmares. And then we get a bunch of shots from part 1.
Wait till you get a load of Judy. Man, oh man.
And she also dreams about the murders in part 2. And she also dreams about the murders in part 3. I'm just gonna cut through the archival footage and just talk about the new stuff. So we cut to what's happening now with Allison, and she runs into the ranger. So Allison and the ranger just start making out, and then Allison's like, no, I don't want to do it. And then like a fucking chase scene happens. The ranger is chasing Allison through the wood. They run into a hunter, and Allison goes up to the hunter and is like, can you help me? And the hunter's like, yeah, what can I help you with? And she just fucking murders him.
I don't like you.
And then Allison just kills the ranger and the hunter. So the movie ends with Allison lifting up a knife, and she keeps doing this so it gets the reflection on the knife. Surprise twist ending. Allison is actually Angela because she murdered everybody in the previous 3 movies, so naturally she's the survivor. Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor.
Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the summer sun.
Return to Sleepaway Camp, written by Robert Hiltzik, starring Felissa Rose. So this movie just makes 2, 3, and 4 forgotten, and it's a direct sequel to part 1. So the movie starts off with news clippings highlighting what happened in the first movie, while this band just says the title of the movie. So then we're in the cabin, and the camper just lights his fart on fire. And then we're introduced to the main character of the movie, who's like this really annoying man-child, who apparently hates lighting farts on fire.
What are you dicks laughing at?
His name is Alan. He's a total fucking douche. We hate Alan right away. I mean, come on. He doesn't like flaming fart jokes. Also, his shirt is fucking filthy.
No, you shut up!
So Alan is talked into lighting his fart on fire, and then he ends up shitting himself. He lights a shart. The boys naturally laugh at him, and then Alan grabs an aerosol can and then just makes a redneck flamethrower. Camp Council Randy comes in and shuts it down. Alan gets pissed, and he says his catchphrase,
"Your ass stinks."
We cut to the next morning where the camp owner Frank is doing a camp meeting, and everybody in here looks like they're background actors of Malcolm in the Middle. Like, it is so 2003. We're introduced to Sheriff Jerry, who is a cop that speaks to a fucking voice box.
Can you play Intergalactic on that thing?
Maybe later. Apparently, Sheriff Jerry is licensed to ill. Alan and Randy get into a scuffle over the really shitty camp food. And then in comes Ronnie from the first movie. You know, the really buff dude with the super short shorts. And my boy Ronnie is still rocking those short shorts. Fuck yeah. And as Ronnie is taking Alan out, Alan drops his catchphrase once again.
Your ass stinks.
So, if you don't get by now, Alan is like the camp punching bag. And rightfully so, because he's kind of begging to get shoved into a locker. I kind of want to steal his kid's lunch money, honestly. Alan makes his way into the kitchen to get some more food. And then we get a cameo from fucking Isaac Hayes. That's Chef. And then this dude Mickey just comes in and starts harassing Alan. And then Mickey just starts throwing eggs at Alan. Alan escalates it by picking up a fucking knife and just throwing it at Mickey. The camp owner comes in and starts yelling at Alan. Alan just has another fucking bitch fit, and then he fucks off and leaves. So Alan makes it to his quiet space, which is like a place just littered with frogs. We cut to another killer POV shot of the killer walking into the kitchen, grabs Mickey by the feet, hoists him up, hanging him over a boiling pot of oil. And Mickey essentially gets a swirly in the deep fried oil, frying his face and killing him. And he gets his body thrown into a trash compactor, and then just blood just sprays everywhere. Cut to the rec hall. Alan is staring at the camp hottie, Karen. So Alan is brought over by this group of dudes who are essentially playing Stifler. They talk Alan into hitting on Karen. Karen is just like, dude, you stink like eggs, and then she gets away. And then in comes Bella, this chick essentially sexually assaults Alan. And then Stifler comes in and just gives him the biggest titty twister of all time. Alan, once again, gets into a whiny argument and says his fucking catchphrase and then fucks off and leaves.
Your ass stinks.
We cut to behind the stage where our Beavis and Butthead of the movie are rolling cow shit into a joint for an epic prank, bro. So naturally, Beavis and Butthead get Alan to smoke the shit. Yeah.
Big toes. And hold it in, otherwise you're wasting it.
So, of course, he does it. Alan's coughing his lungs out, dropping him to his knees, which puts him in a vulnerable position. And then in comes Stifler to give Alan a brand new nickname.
Blowjob.
Cut to the docks. One of the Beavis and Butthead guys is smoking weed out there. When the hooded killer shows up, the killer shoves a hose of gasoline in his throat and puts a joint in his mouth. So the joint eventually burns down, and then so Beavis's head fucking explodes. Ronnie is having flashbacks of the first movie. Ronnie is like, I think Angela is behind this. So Ronnie tells Jerry that Ricky is still in touch with Angela.
Maybe I'll do that.
And then we cut to our fucking baseball scene. And I know what you're thinking. Do we get the awesome insult of eat shit and live?
Hey Bella, your ass stinks!
No, he says his fucking catchphrase again. There's also this like weird night, maybe day scene of them just playing paintball. The point is, everybody just gangs up and shoots Alan with the paintball. Obviously. I know Alan is annoying, but I'm kind of starting to feel bad for him. But the best part is this kid is on a zip line and he totally falls off and fucks himself up. Legit hurt. So Jerry takes Ronnie's advice and goes and finds Ricky. Ricky's pretty much saying that it's not Angela because she's still locked up. You have another killer on your hands. We cut to Alan around a bunch of dead frogs. Two of the Stiflers come in and Alan's like, you did this.
You did this? Shit, yeah.
But why?
This is freaking cool, man.
Later that night, at another social, Alan fucks with this girl with pigtails, shoots spitballs at Alan. Alan whines, screams your ass stinks, and he fucks off and leaves. Alan runs into Karen, and Karen seduces him and takes him into this abandoned cabin, which he's then stripped butt-ass naked. Okay, not butt-ass naked, he's wearing his underwear, but they tie him up and then they shove him out on a stage in front of the entire camp. This other counselor, Petey, she saves Alan, and Ronnie is fucking pissed. Like, you can see his fucking triceps. And he starts accusing her of, you're secretly Angela in disguise. She says, no, I'm not. And then we cut to the campers who are now shouting blowjob at Alan's camp. Blowjob, blowjob. Alan fucking snaps and he fucks off and leaves. Frank gets knocked out with a hammer to the head. Frank's head is now locked in a fucking bird cage. The hooded killer shows up and shoves rats in the cage and it kills Frank. But we don't get to see any of it. And then we cut to a bunch of random dudes who are planning a fucking panty raid.
Yeah, man, we're going on a panty raid in the younger girls' bunk.
In the younger girls' bunk. What the fuck? Ronnie grabs one of the campers and he says, you're not going anywhere because you're responsible for harassment of Alan. So the dude is in his cabin by himself looking at porn. And right before he starts pounding his pud, a pointed stick just pops through the floor. And then this fucking dude shows up with panties all over his body. And then we get this comical scene of the two guys, one of which still has the panties on his head, sticking their eyes into the holes looking for the stick. Eventually, the guy who's about to jerk off gets the stick in his eye for real and he starts wailing around with it. He runs into the wall and then the panty dude just screams like a girl. We cut to two other counselors who are driving far away just so they can make out and probably put the P in the V. So he goes to pee in the woods and he gets tied to a tree. Piano wire comes down, grabs his fucking dick. The piano wire is tied around his car. Linda comes in and she sees what's going on. She hops into the Jeep and takes off. And she eventually rips his dick off. So Linda drives right into barbed wire that wraps around her neck and then she crashes. Cut to Ronnie and some other random camper. They find Frank's dead body and Frank's bird says Alan's catchphrase. And Ronnie starts putting pieces together, thinking that the killer has to be Alan. Bella hops into her bunk. She looks up. There is a huge bed of nails facing right down on her. The hooded killer is hanging out on the ceiling like he's fucking Batman. The hooded killer jumps down and smashes Bella in the bed of nails. Everybody's finger pointing of who the killer can be. My boy Ricky comes back and then we get the long-awaited scene between Ronnie and Ricky.
Is that Ricky? Ronnie? What the hell are you doing here? I was gonna ask you the same thing.
Karen finds Bella's bloody corpse and she takes off into the woods. She finds Randy's body, sans penis. Karen runs aimlessly in the woods, comes face to face with the killer, and then comically faints. Karen wakes up in a dark rec hall with a basketball hoop above her. The killer hits a button which starts to activate some sort of mechanism that lifts her up by her neck. And then in comes Michael, who, by the way, was Alan's stepbrother, to save Karen. Michael is dead set that Alan is the killer. So he grabs a croquet bat and then he's about to bust his ass open. Michael takes the croquet bat and then beats out of him. And then he just starts beating the fuck out of Alan. Michael is stopped by the unseen killer. So Ronnie and Ricky come across the skinned body of Michael. And you might be wondering, who's behind the skinning of Michael? It's none other than the one that was responsible for all the other killings.
I've been waiting a long time for this.
Officer Jerry. And then Sheriff Jerry reveals that he's been Angela this entire fucking time.
I knew it was you.
But the best part is Ricky screaming, Angela.
Angela!
It's so fucking awesome. The movie ends with Angela laughing maniacally. But we unfortunately don't get to see her penis. Return to Sleepaway Camp.
And with the grace of God, I'll camp until I die.
Well, Morph guys, I did it. I watched every single Sleepaway Camp movie ever made. From the legendary shock of the original to the fucking batshit sequels. This franchise had it all. Gore, comedy, bizarre plot twists, and a terrifying amount of short shorts. But here's the thing. As wild and messy as this series gets, I fucking love it. It's a snapshot at horror at its weirdest and campiest. Literally. And most unapologetically unhinged. If you stuck around with me throughout this entire madness, congratulations. You're now an honorary Mark Mackay camper. Just, don't go to the lake after dark. Or the showers. But will I see you at the next camp? And until next time, thanks for watching. And meet me at the waterfront after the social.